Let's see what this saber can do.
All right, we're here to talk about this Starfall hilt. This is a ready to ship that Nick prepared recently, and his customer reached out to me for an install. So let's hop down to the table. We'll talk about the electronics real quick. We'll show a few controls, and then we'll hop back out. I'll show off a few more blade styles, a few more controls, and then we'll wrap it up. Thanks for checking it out. All right, so this is a pretty simple setup, so we'll go over it real quick. Right off the top, I've already loosened the set screw here. But if we do, we've got a little Allen key, and on the side here, the grip sleeve is set here with this little Allen key. I've already pulled it off. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the grip off. So here's our chassis. It's just a press fit design, Proffie V2, sporting this Starfall sound font collection, plus 4 additional fonts that were provided by the client. We do have a kill switch here, a 28mm KR bass speaker, a spot for an 18650 battery with the Starfall logo. Let's go ahead and pop the battery in real quick. Do be mindful that since it is just a press fit, over time, if you're yanking on the battery, or I should say if you're yanking on the chassis to put the battery in, that may loosen up. So just be mindful. It's pretty tight. We have a KR dual tactile pixel or duo pixel switch, I think is what it's called, in brass to match this little accent here. I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera. Probably not at all. I don't see the light there. We've got, I'm using a different little bit of a camera setup here, so that's why we're not seeing it as well as we normally do. But this is the Shadowfoil neopixel PCB. So we popped our battery in. We'll hit our kill switch. We're on the Corn Horn font, so let me go to
battery level.
So on the battery level indicator, the pixel switch will go from a green to a red. I don't know what that looks like on camera right now, but it's kind of a yellowish color. So we're getting in the lower range. We'll probably hear the battery crackle before that ever turns to like a reddish color. Anyway, when it's in the off state, like this, where the blade is off, if you do have this just kind of sitting on a shelf, you know, but the battery it's on, it can go to sleep. I've set the timer for 10 minutes. So it won't be a deep sleep after that, but it will save you some battery life. But in order to wake it back up, you'll have to hit a button. So again, that's a 10-minute timer. So yeah, you just won't see a battery, you won't see a light. But this pixel switch will do different things depending on which preset we're on. For the most part, I've matched this to be the blade color for like the Starfall sound font collection. For the 4 additional fonts, I kind of varied it up a little bit. Anyway, so that being said, this is the battery level indicator. So you can hear we've got a pretty good loudspeaker here. If we were ready, we would go ahead and set this set screw. So we've got config on the SD card. So in case you do need to do any additional programming, I've done a little bit of option control. So we're mostly using one blade style with the FET263 library, but several options that turn on and off depending on which preset we're on. So that being said, we'll light it up. So now you can see those lighting up like they should. Now this, again, will just match the blade color, right? But it will, both will respond to blaster blocks, clashes, or lockups, depending on which font we're on. Okay. If we were ready, we can pop a blade in. I'm just going to go ahead and switch around, and I'll show you with the neopixel emitter different colors. Right. So we got like a light cyan blade here, smooth swing. Right. We do have gesture control, so twist on and thrust on. Those will get you into battle mode, and then we have twist off. So I'll demonstrate that with the blade in. Again, battle modes just means we don't have to hold the button down if we were going to engage lockups. So that depends on how you like to operate your saber. If anything, you can just hit the power button. If I didn't mention it, power is up, aux is bottom. So to switch presets, when the blade is off, we hit aux. If we want to go backwards, we'll point the hilt down, but we'll hit aux. Okay, so now we're back. Again, I'm not sure how well that's showing up on camera, but so we got just a little bit of a different animation depending on which preset these are on. Again, these go from like a pulsing, a blinking, a sequence in the off state, and then in the on state, one of those three as well, or solid color, or an unstable color, or an audio flicker color. So those are the options. I don't remember exactly what I've turned on, but you can learn how to turn them on and off with either edit mode or with going in the config and editing. Anything I don't cover in this video, I've got a quick little printout here that goes over all those options. So highly recommend you look at that before you do any operations. And then if you have any questions, let me know. And that is a note to the client. If you're just watching this, then you will probably have seen my videos before. So, yeah.
Hero's Journey.
So each of these Starfall fonts have a little bit something different going on, but for the most part, they're kind of a steady color blade, something a little bit more classic, which to the client you mentioned is your preferred. However, this Ruin sound font does have an unstable, so and it also has a pre-on, so that will only happen if you press the button. So you can sort of see that represented there. But if we were to twist on, we'll bypass that and just go straight. Okay.
Reconcile.
All right, so let me go ahead and quickly show you the...
Let's see what this saber can do.
So you heard me start this video off with this first font that you provided. I think this is the Kyle Katarn font. Yeah.
Get together into Kelleran, go!
And then we have the sabered hand. This is Kelleran Beck from The Mandalorian, where he rescues Grogu. So he had a blade color, and I think he picked up somebody else's saber, which was blue. But I watched the video to kind of make sure which one was which. So I think his standard. So this is the Code Fulcrum, I believe. So I think this is Ahsoka Tano from Rebels. So this will be a white. Right? And then I want to say this is Commander Tano from the Rebels, I'm sorry, from the Clone Wars series. So this is the one I did do. This is a cyan or a light, maybe Dodger blue. And you can see it doing a sequence there. But the blade color is like an aqua, which was her, I think her longer blade. I forget which one's which, but she had two blades. So I just picked that. And then
Battery level.
We're back to our battery level. So when we're ready, we can undo the grip and make sure that's backed off so we're not scratching up that little thing here. We can either hit our kill switch or we can pop our battery out. Spring side's your negative. I don't know how well it showed up on camera a second ago, but positive and negative terminals are clearly identified. But spring side's your negative, and you always do nipple to nipple. So you could either leave your battery in for long-term storage, or you could take it out, recharge it if you need to. So let's go over some other functions with the blade in, and then we'll wrap it up. All right, so we talked about what's going on with the electronics. We showed off a few commands. Now let's go over a few more blade styles. Up top at the very beginning of this video, you saw me demonstrate one of the sound fonts that the customer provided. So I'm going to go over a few more of those. Those are at the end of the presets. This does sport the entire Starfall collection. So that was at the end just before the battery level. So we've got 8 sound fonts from Starfall and then 4 sound fonts from the client. And then the final preset is a battery level indicator. So up top, in order to start the track that I assigned for each preset, you have to have the saber upright and hold the button, the power button up top for a second. So that is true of whether the saber is on or off. When the saber is off, you start in track player mode if you're in any other orientation except vertical. So let's show off the track that I designated. And on this sound font, it's kind of just I guess it's a mystery or something like that. So it's not really a soundtrack per se.
This message is intended for my son, Kyle Katan. Kyle.
Anyway, and we just do that same button control to turn it off. Okay, but if we're in any other orientation, we start the track player. So let me do that real quick. And then as I rotate the saber, I'm changing the tracks. Now I'll have the full list of instructions, but if we press power, it will play that one track. If we press aux, it will start from there and go forward. But let's just hit a button real quick, and now I can move it around. So I hit aux, which means it's just gonna keep playing all the way through. And then again, turn it off, just hold power for a second. And if I didn't mention it, power is the top button, and auxiliary is the bottom button. So in the off state, we hit aux to advance the fonts.
Get your weapons together and go!
This is the sabered hand. So this is one of the other tracks provided by the client. So this is Keller and Beck, the sabered hand. It looks like both of them are green. Okay. Now, in the on state, again, I mentioned the fact that power in the upright will start the track that's designated. And that is the only way to do it when the blade is on. If we were to invert the hilt when the blade is on, we're gonna swap between force player mode and quote player mode. Now it depends on if the font has quotes with it. So if the font came with quotes, I have done the work to make sure that plays, but I don't know if all the ones you provided are that way. So let's turn it on again. So if we hold power for a second in any orientation other than vertical, we're gonna force effect. And then for as long as that force effect plays, we'll get a little animation. So, but if we switch to quote player mode, and I can't remember if this one has quotes or not.
I hit the engine!
It does. So you just heard it say the first quote, and then it's gonna randomly play quotes from now on.
Don't worry, we're gonna meet up with some friends of mine.
Until we switch back to force player mode. So I can just keep holding power for a second.
There are no others. But hold on, it's gonna be a bumpy landing.
So I don't remember how many quotes there are for this particular font, but so we'll switch back to force. And now we've got that animation again, and we heard that sound effect. On the Starfall font collection, there may be a mix between force and quotes, but they're all called force effects. Some of the sound fonts that Nick had commissioned, he just wanted to have some lore. So I want to say like Starfall and Celestial have like really long quotes, but they're considered force effects. So that being said, we're now in force player mode, and I don't know how well that shows up, but it's an unstable blade for as long as the sound effect plays. Okay, so again, that's track player and force player and quote player mode, all with power button holding for a second in either the on or off state. Again, most of that other stuff the blade has to be on. So if we do use the power button to turn the blade on and off, we're in a regular mode, which means clashing the saber. We're just gonna get clashes. If we wanna engage a lockup, we have to hold either power or aux, and then clash the saber. And that's true of whether it's a melt, which will be sideways. There we go. Now I can rotate, change the color, and then the longer I hold it, the more animated it gets, right, until I let go. However, we do have gesture control. I've included twist on and thrust on. Twist on is just like a motorcycle rev, right? So now we're in battle mode. Battle mode just means you don't have to press a button to engage that lockup. So, clash the saber. As long as I don't immediately pull the blade away, I'm now in a lockup. I can move the saber around, but if I pull away or if I jerk it away, I'm getting out of that mode. And again, that's true of melt, right? Get in the frame here. So melt has to be sideways, and then drag has to be down. So as long as I don't, right? All right, so that's gesture control and battle mode. Again, thrust is a horizontal push or pull, so, and we can twist that off. So both of those gesture controls will get you into battle mode. If that's not your preferred method, then just hit the power button, and then everything else is button commands from then on. So aux will be blaster blocks, which will be random depending on which font you're on. Okay, so next font. So this is the third of 4 fonts provided by the client. This would be Fulcrum. And then again, we have force player mode on this. And she's got quotes, so, or maybe it's Commander Tano has quotes. Yeah. Fulcrum just has force effects. Okay, so that's what I didn't remember. All right. So this is Commander Tano. This is from the Clone Wars. And so this track you'll recognize as the theme song. Okay. And so now we've got like one of her 2 blades, kind of this aqua greenish color. Oops.
Revert.
So I jumped into color change mode accidentally by rolling across my hand, which was pressing aux and tapping power. So this is one I did. I don't know how well that shows up on camera, but it is because she had 2 sabers. So I did the button as the blue saber, and then the main as kind of that aqua color. Okay. But anyway, I was going to quote mode.
I know, Anakin. The Republic forces will depart.
Okay, so all that's set up for you. You just switch between, and then when you turn the saber on and off, while the battery is still, the kill switch is still on, it will remember which setting you were in. So even if we switched fonts.
Battery level.
So here's battery level. So this is programmed for, I think I need to reprogram this for you. I think I have it set for 32, but you told me 28, so I will fix that before I ship this out. Anyway, so I didn't have a 28 7/8. This is a 7/8 blade, so I'm using my 32 blade for the demo. But I'll have that fixed for you before I ship this off to you. Anyway, so as this is more fully charged, it'll be closer to the tip. And as it depletes, it will be closer to the hilt, and it'll change from a green or a blue down to a red. Now, what I did do is if you don't have the blade in, the little switch will go from green to red as well. Chances are you'll probably hear the speaker crackle before you start to see this becoming an amber color. It'll probably just look green or yellow. And then when the battery is depleted, the speaker will start to crackle. So that's not something to be worried about. It just means you need to charge your battery. So again, you'll be able to see that. Now, if you're on any other font and you want to get a named percentage, just like color change, you're going to hold aux and tap power.
Battery level 51%.
And it will announce that for you. So you can be on any font as long as the blade is not on, and hold that combination. Because obviously with the blade on, you'll be in color change mode. So this is the last preset, battery level. So we'll now be going back into the first set of presets, the Starfall collection, which represents all the colors that Nick normally has programmed. Here's our standard red blade. And so I think you mentioned this is going to be typical of the Starfall font collection, but generally speaking, you mentioned you like more stable colors. So this one's going to have like very subtle of an audio flicker. Which I don't know how well that even shows up on camera. It's very subtle. So this should work for you.
Celestial.
So here's Celestial. This may show up a little bit better. I'm just going to show off quickly these Starfall. These are all basically the canon colors, so they have different in and outs, but for the most part, they're what we programmed for Nick. And this is probably not showing up on camera very well, but this is a purplish color. Actually, me start that back up. So let me show you again force effect. So you can sort of see that animating across the blade. It only happens for as long as the sound.
Hero's Journey.
It's a fun little saber to toss around. It's so light and works really well with the 7/8 blade. Really well balanced. And this one, however, in the off state, it's kind of just pulsing red. So Ruin is the only one of the fonts, even with the ones you provided, that has a pre-on. So the only way to get the pre-on is to press the button to do normal operations. If you use a gesture control, you're going to bypass the pre-on. So let's show that real quick. It's real brief, right? So it just kind of went from a white to a red there. But if I were to just use a gesture control, we don't even see it. It just goes into. So this is an unstable blade, kind of like a Kylo, but this is Ruin.
Reconcile.
Is it gold color? Yeah, there we go, up against my shirt. Blue. And it's got more of like clean sounds because it's an older High Republic sounding blade. Okay, so I wanted to get to Corn Horn. I mentioned color change just a second ago. On this Corn Horn sound font, color change just jumps between two colors. It's white or purple. So turn the saber on, we got that cycle up, got our speeder bike sound. If we hold aux and tap power, and I hope this shows up on camera, and now it turns to this light purple color, right? But let's go to High Republic real quick, and we do color change. We'll get into the color wheel. So you heard that little?
Red.
Now it's
Orange, red. Dark orange. Orange. Gold. Yellow.
So if we want to accept the color, we'll hit power. If we want to not do that, maybe we accidentally jumped into it like I did a moment ago, then we hit aux to revert.
Revert.
Okay? And it will remember whatever you select when you turn the saber on and off, whatever you've changed it to. Now, that's going to cover most of the functionality. Again, anything I haven't covered will be on a printout. And if you have any questions, client, you can feel free to email me, and then we'll address anything there. But I highly suggest you read the printout or go to the fet263.com website where Fernando has a bunch of videos that go into real detail. You mentioned to me you're not super comfortable with Proffie. He's got a plethora of videos that explain everything that you could think about. So it's pretty handy. And if you get a little too overwhelmed, there are communities out there like Facebook group or the Crucible forum, and then you can do that. So you said you do have some other Proffies, but hopefully this covers it for you. I hope you enjoy it. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. So thanks for checking it out.